Well, hello everyone. Before I start the opening, I'd like to just ask that all cell phones be silenced, just not to disturb our speakers today. We welcome all who have gathered here on this beautiful morning in May to honor and remember Brandon Lynn Huggard, son of Craig and Carrie Huggard, to mourn Brandon's death and help his family and friends carry the weight of their grief, to remember what we loved about Brandon, to speak his name and hold him in our hearts. We thank all those who have already offered comfort, making calls, sending cards, bringing food, stopping by, giving hugs and tender words. And we offer special thanks to those who have traveled from a distance and those who have offered to speak and whose names appear on the program. We also want to thank all of those who helped and supported Brandon in ways large and small, those who stayed by him through the storms and traumas, through sadness and sometimes anger, who weathered all the emotions, returning finally to love and compassion. So I'd like to just overview the program today. Our first three speakers will be Carrie Huggard, Avery Huggard, and Jessica Nichols. Carrie is Brandon's mom, Avery is Brandon's sister, and then Jessica is Brandon's cousin on his father's side. Then our remaining speakers are going to be Dara Schiffer, Lindsay Dunnigan, Morgan Vargas, and Craig Huggard. And the first three are cousins of Brandon on Brandon's mother's side of the family, and then Craig is Brandon's father. Let's see, the last thing that I like to do is just, when we're done with the speakers, we'll have a moment of silence and reflection, thinking maybe of our best memories of Brandon. And then everyone who would like to speak is welcome to come up to the podium here. If you do like to speak, it would be best to come to the podium because your voice would be through the microphone, and also it's being broadcast on Zoom as well, so you'd be seen on the Zoom feed. So with that, I think we're ready to get started with our first speaker, Carrie.
Jim is my brother-in-law, Anne's husband. Thank you. That probably won't be the only mistake I make. So. I want to thank everybody for coming. It means a lot to us, and I'm sure it means a lot to Brandon too. I just want to read a little bit about Brandon, some thoughts I had, and kind of what's been going on over the while. Brandon passed away on April 19th, 2022, while in Mexico, where he went with the hope of restoring his beautiful smile. He was so eager and excited, planning the excursion months in advance. He reassured me that things would go smoothly and there would be nothing to worry about. Word of Brandon's death came on the day his flight was scheduled to return to home. The news came to us as a shock, but softened because Craig and I were together when the call arrived. 3 days prior to Brandon's departure, his Aunt Ann, where you Ann there, asked him if he might like to come visit. She and her husband, husband Jim, while they were in town. Rarely would he accept those invites, but on this occasion, he surprised us all by dropping in. His happiness and excitement were infectious. We laughed, talked, and just had a fabulous time. He stayed longer than usual. What would be our last dinner together? This thanks in part to my ever thoughtful and caring sister Ann. As many of you know, Brandon and I had a close bond. Our minds and spirits meshed. We shared each other's pain at times. I'll never forget his sparkling blue eyes and stunning smile, his huge hugs, the smell of his clean shirts, and when he called me Ma. I love the times we spent together at the gym, where again and again he'd patiently teach me how to use the weights and the gym equipment correctly. Other times he'd go on our coffee runs or get pedicures. It just tickled me that he had no inhibition. We just enjoyed being together, regardless of what we were doing. We loved talking about anything and everything. We agreed on a lot, but not on Joe Rogan or my style of parenting Avery. Brandon was the family peacemaker. He wanted to be there to protect his little sister and make sure she was okay. Brandon was a master at lawn care, especially edging the grass. He was the only one that could make my yard look impeccable. I can see him now outside with his shoes off, his no safety goggles, headphones on while rocks were flipping everywhere. He was a jack of all trades, like his dad. He'd come to my home frequently to make needed repairs or just to give me a hand. It gave him satisfaction to see me happy and knowing he could be of help. He always left my house with a big hug, kiss, and an I love you. It was heartfelt and it made both of us feel better about parting. Brandon made friends easily and had numerous throughout the years. They were all good kids. Can't think of any one of them I didn't like. We spent hours and hours away from home, keeping active, playing sports, and participating in school activities. Four-wheeling and just having a good time. I only remember a couple of occasions that Brandon caused trouble when he was growing up. An incident that occurred while he was in high school. I think he and his friends put some girl's car on the grass, picked it up with their bare hands and put it in the grass. Correct me if I'm wrong, you know, Jed, Troy, whoever else was involved. But I got a call. I was at work. I remember the specific moment. Got a call from Jay Walker, the vice principal. Am I right? Yeah. See, my memory's still there a little bit. And he told me what had happened, and I was pretty upset. But Jay says, you know what? It's okay. They're good kids, just a little mischievous at times. So I settled down, and then I went back and think that is a real pleasant memory. I wished I would have thought of something like it. So thanks, guys. Sadly, several of his friends and cousins have passed away, many of those deaths related to addiction. He deeply mourned each of those losses, but really never thought he'd be a casualty himself. Brandon's many cousins were an integral part of his life. He was always in the middle of action when they hung out. Most of his cousins were girls. It didn't matter, he played and had fun with them as easily as the boys. He always looked forward to those vacations he spent with his cousins that lived out of state. I only wish he was more available to them as he got older, but the addiction and depression seemed to interfere with that. Regardless, he loved and adored each of them as they did him. Brandon had a profound love of animals. I made certain of that. Growing up, he had Jade the parakeet, Boots the cat, Brittany and Tipper the dogs. Oh, excuse me, Rusty. Don't want to forget about Rusty. After leaving home, he acquired Chicago, the happiest three-legged dog ever. And Chicago just passed away not too long ago. So now he's left behind his cage, his constant companion who stayed right up to the very end. Brandon would tell me that he helped him through some of the loneliest times. He's just going to be taken care of. And if we need to get money on antidepressants, we will. So. Fondly, I remember the times Brandon was fresh out of rehab, so bright-eyed, humbled and confident, full of hope for the future. I recall the longest period of recovery taking 3 years. Those were the best times for us all. Over the last 2 years, I've come to terms with Brandon's illness and started the process of relinquishing my control. Once I could do this, I became more accepting, and felt more at peace. Our times together were much less tense, and our love flowed freely. I could see he was trying to keep it together, and I just wanted to support him where he was at. At that point, I was just happy he was alive. Our deepest sadness and grief is lessened some by knowing he is no longer suffering or struggling to live. With this loss, I see it has opened the door to new possibilities and renewed beginnings. I know more than anything he would want Avery to be happy and taken care of. She will. My greatest thanks to family and friends that have been there to support us now and throughout the years. That outpouring of love, kind words, and wonderful stories has left us overwhelmed with gratitude. Special thanks to Brandon's family that traveled here from out of state. I can't tell you how much it means to me. Thanks to Faye, Brandon's surviving grandmother, who never gave up on Brandon or any of her grandchildren. To my dearest sister Ann, who's been with me throughout this long struggle and journey, trying to help me deal with all my suffering throughout the years of Brandon's addiction. A very special thanks to Craig and Avery, who has stood by my side since Brandon's death, comforting me while putting their own grief to the side. Avery spent the whole night with me, the first night I learned of Brandon's death, just comforting me and holding my hand and letting me talk on and on and on. I appreciate that. Okay, so just a little message I found between Brandon and Avery from quite a few years back. I want to share because to me this kind of typifies their relationship. And this is Avery talking. Do you know that we are made of stars? Brandon, yes, atoms, I did. That's why we die. When we die, we float to the sky to join other universes. Avery, learned it on Fox 13, Cosmos. Brandon, you like that show? Avery, no, Mom forced me to watch it. Now on Sundays, Mom lets me stay up even later than my bedtime to watch it. Even now, I don't like it. Brandon, how did she force you? Avery, she would not let me play games on her phone until I watch it. Brandon, that's bribing. And just a real quick little letter that years ago we received from Brandon. To the two greatest parents and the most beautiful, loving sister anyone could ask wish for. Just a little reminder how much I love and respect you, all my family. You guys are wonderful and inspiring to be around. Love you all, Brandon. P.S. Dad, if you could scan and send me a picture of me and Avery, I would love it. Thank you.
This is more to Brandon, so I'm talking to him because I feel like that would help me. Dear Brandon, I never really got to see the real you behind your addiction. You struggled with it through the majority of your life. People, including me, treated you differently because of it. That's what I regret the most. The last couple of years of your life, I wasn't a very loving sister. You did what you could to show how much you loved me, and I took most of it for granted. I would rarely spend time with you, and when I did, most of the time I just wanted to leave. If I'm being honest, it can be hard to be around someone who is currently using. That mixed with my teenage angst phase didn't make things any better. Regardless, you made sure I knew I had someone to rely on, and someone who loves me. I remember you would always tell me that when Mom and Dad go, and we would only have each other. It always gave me a sense of security, even though I never admitted it. Whenever there was a fight between Mom and Dad, and I was either in it or watching it, you would stick up for me and try to stop it. I know when you were little, you didn't have someone to do that for you. You didn't want me to go through the same thing. You were never afraid to do the right thing, and I admire you for that. You gave me everything you possibly could, even though you didn't get much in return. It was always so nice when we had family get-togethers. I always wanted to play Monopoly, unlike Mom and Dad. Most of the time you would play with me and not complain, even though I know everyone hated it. You cherished all the time spent with me. I could just tell by your face. I hope you know I did too. The time when we went up to Silver Lake to go fishing and you taught me how to fish. I remember I tried casting a line and the hook blew straight back and nicked my pants. Or that time you won Billie Eilish concert tickets and asked if I wanted to go, and me being the absolute ass I am said no thank you. You said it was fine, but I still regret saying no. That time we drove up the canyon and Mom was criticizing the way I was driving, but you told her to calm down. I enjoyed hearing the stories of what it was like when you were younger, and I'm going to miss not being able to talk to you about that anymore. In general, I'm going to miss you. In the next conversations we have, you've taught me so much, and your kindness has inspired me to be a better person. I have loved you before, and I'll love you till the day I die.
Hi. I wrote this down, so I'm reviewing most of it, sorry. My name is Jessica. I'm Brennan's first cousin. Actually, I was born on his first birthday, so I am his birthday pain in the butt forever. So, anyways, my grandma wanted to get up and speak, but she's not able to right now. So she asked me to just say a little something in memory she had of Brandon. So, when he was a toddler, he went to a new babysitter. Carrie had dropped him off, his mom, and he would not stop crying. His mom finally called Grandma to have him picked up. And he lit up with relief and hugged her so hard. When she picked him up, she could hardly breathe until they got to the car. He would not let go of her throat. He was hugging her so tightly. And that memory is still with her, and his big hugs, and she will miss him forever. He always was so good to give her a great big hug goodbye, and always told her that he loved her. Okay. So, anyways, me and Brandon were definitely close. As I think about this cousin of mine with the big, beautiful eyes, memories flow through my mind when we were young. We definitely spent a lot of time together at Grandma and Grandpa's house. We were quite the duo and troublemakers at times. One time our Grandpa Garth was snoring like a log. He usually was when he was sleeping. He was always out cold. And we just thought it would be fun. Now looking back, it's probably not the nicest thing, but we took like little rubber bands and we'd shoot at him and we'd tickle his feet and wake him up. And he would always come to and just say, "I smell smoke by Paul K. Kearney." I still have no idea what that means, but he'd always say it. It was pretty funny, actually. But I like to think of it as a way that we were helping with his sleep apnea. Okay, sorry. Where was I? There are so many stories. There's just not enough time for all of them, so I just was trying to find a couple there. But Brennan would really light up a room. It is true. His smile, his energy, he was the really beautiful one. All of us and all of my friends had a crush on him, that's for sure. All of them, actually. But he was always there to lend a hand for anyone that needed it. He would do just very kind things and notice things more than other people do. I feel like he was an empath. I felt like he could read people's energy and know when they really needed someone, or he could read the room very well and he could brighten up a room with just a smile and just his understanding and just listening. So, gosh, I keep getting upset, sorry. So, he'd just do very kind things, like bring me up a plate on Thanksgiving when I was home alone because I didn't feel well. shoveling my walks for me, coming to my side during any of the dark times throughout my life, and just being present. He would either sit and watch movies with me, or we'd go out and have a fire or barbecue, or go for a drive and listen to gangster music. Not all the time, it was different music, but sometimes we would do that to pump us up. So yeah. He helped, a few summers ago, he helped restore my home and built a deck on the back of my house. He did an awesome job, and yes, Gage was at our house a lot. They were inseparable, but he always liked to do those things outside. He was a very hard worker. And we spent a lot of time during that summer talking about so many different things and listening to music and just spending time bonding. We always promised we'd be there for each other no matter what happened. We would trade our favorite TED Talks, inspirational ones, all the time. And we promised that we would for sure go to a TED conference. We didn't. Gonna have to go though. We had our ups and downs for sure, sometimes years in between, seeing one another. But once we reconnected, we were inseparable. I wish this last break in time would have been shorter, and I could have had one more hug, one more long, deep talk, one more ride to Park City listening to music. I will miss him very much and celebrate every birthday in his honor, remembering all the memories from early childhood to adulthood. I know he is with us and not suffering, and would like to celebrate him. He would like us to celebrate him and bring his light forward into our lives. You can't get that time back. So don't take it for granted. Your loved ones, your loved ones and your time with them is never promised. He will not want us to be in despair. He would want us to celebrate, listen to good music, spend time with family and close friends, crack a lot of jokes, and laugh like crazy, and eat some good food. For all those who love him and are grieving him, just remember him, his blue eyes, his laugh, his great sense of humor, his service to others all the time, no matter what stage of life he was in. He was always there to help or do something for someone else. He brought so much love to so many. I love you, Brennan. You are definitely missed.
Well, I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? And it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall and the major lift. The baffled king composes hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. Sour bathing on her beauty and the moonlight overthrew. She tied you to her kitchen chair and she broke your thorn and she cut your hair. And every breath you drew was hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Baby, I've been here before, seen this room and I've walked these floors. You know I used to live alone before I knew. Remember when I moved in you, and the holy dove was moving too, and every breath we drew was hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. There was a time when you let me know what's really going on below. But you don't really show that to me, do you? And I seen your flag on the marble arch. Love is not a victory march. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. 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 Maybe there's a God above, but all I ever learned from love is how to shoot somebody who outgrew. It's not a cry that you hear at night, and it's not somebody who's seen the light. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Dara, Brandon's cousin on his mom's side. So Brandon's dad, Craig, sat the bar, kind man. I have vivid memories throughout my whole childhood of him just smiling with his eyes at me. I can still picture it.
Brandon's mom. Carrie was so tough and no nonsense and hilarious. And my best memory of her and her sister Anne, we were visiting their dad and grandpa in the nursing home, and he was unhappy about something. All of a sudden, both of my aunts were storming down the hall to take care of business. And that's who they are. They took care of the whole family. And Brandon was a combination of both of those things. He was gentle, but he was mischievous, like his cousin said, or maybe Carrie said that. And he loved his parents. He loved Avery. He loved his friends. I didn't meet his friends, but I saw on Facebook just things he would post. He was really loyal to all of his friends. And we lived far away, but he loved us too. And one day when I had, about 15 years ago, we were in a hotel room. It was just the 3 girl cousins and our mom. And he was hanging out with us like it was fun. He was in his early 20s, it probably wasn't fun. But he turned to me. Back then I would send birthday cards to people, and he said, "Thank you for the birthday cards. It means a lot to me." It was a strange thing for a young man to say, but he noticed little things like that. We'd always hang out in Carrie and Craig's backyard, the beautiful backyard, and we'd shoot hoops. And some of our best times were at our great aunt Dorothy's house. She's our most colorful relative. She had blonde curls, like bleach blonde, and wore lace until she was 85. These inappropriate tops. And she decorated her whole house in red velvet and green shag. And we'd go down to the adults would be on the grass. We'd hang out in the basement, and
the 70s basement and get into hijinks, but Dorothy would always treat us well. We had so much fun with Brandon. He loved nature. He loved his state. I feel like in the last year he recommended an Instagram page called Utah's Rad, so I started following it to see the pretty pictures. He was the first person to introduce me to the fact that men like shoes as well as women. I didn't understand because I didn't understand his shoes. But I'd be in a different city, pass a really fancy shoe shop, I'd take a picture and send it to Brandon. He knew I loved music, and he recommended Pretty Lights, the band, many years ago to me. I listened to that when Carrie called me that night. And mental illness is a dominant theme in our family. When I was a kid, it would seem like the worst possible thing, because you lose control of your mind. Like, what else do you have? But as I've gotten older, I see it comes along with other things too, like empathy. You understand that people are walking hard roads, and you don't know what's going on with them. And I also sometimes wonder if it coincides with intelligence and creativity. And Brandon was all of these things. He was empathetic, smart, and creative. But he suffered, and I think he lived as best he knew how. I'm Lindsay. I'm Brandon's cousin on his mom's side. Brandon had such a dedicated heart of gold, the deep stability to care so purely. The few that carry this trait struggle the most in this world. Growing up, Brandon was hands down my favorite cousin and relative. Sorry. He was always the cool guy that I was so proud to have as a family. Then you look at his parents and it all adds up. My Uncle Craig, such a strong force of dedication and support, and acted with such patience and human decency. Oh, and he knows just how to Toyota outdoor adventure as it should always be done. I can only imagine the adventures you all shared. Craig, you are and always were such a superb father. You raised Brandon to have that pure heart that so many of us were fortunate to experience. You always make sure loved ones are taken care of, and Brandon followed suit. Brandon was a great man because he had a great father. And my Aunt Carrie, the aunt with the sports car, the fleece scanner, and the lead foot. Running to the grocery store to get milk with her was the best part of our family Utah trips. We got there fast. You are the heart of the family, always making sure things are okay. You have a level of understanding and support that is what it should always be. Your unconditional love and way of thinking provided the foundation for Brandon's beautiful soul. Brandon was such a rare gem because of what his mother taught him to be. Sweet, sweet Avery, you were the light of Brandon's life. And he knew through and through how much you loved him, so do not ever forget that. He did not want you to feel a day of sadness, but unfortunately the world is not so kind. So show him that you can let that light, that you are, shine, regardless of what this world and what it does. You are another example of the sweet, kind, smart, and caring people your parents have raised. The family remained good to each other through continuous actions of love. But if love was all it took, then none of us would be here today. Brandon was surrounded by immense love, and he knew it. This is why he reciprocated that love. But if love alone could erase mental health issues, then they would have been erased. If love alone was the remedy to addiction, then addiction would not even be. Everyone is here because there was ample love, as is the case with millions of families. Yet we are still losing our children, our siblings, our parents, our cousins, my cousin. My last messages with Brandon were with him and I discussing the lack of understanding and support out there for mental health and addiction. I think this is why, he was still trying to figure it out himself. Family and loved ones supported an appropriate path for help, and he knew this. I know he wanted the world to understand it all better though. If someone were to experience a brain injury, and this was confirmed by a doctor, people believe this diagnosis to be what it is, and know there will be some various severity of impact. If the result of this brain injury is the inability to walk or the loss of speech, people understand this is the result of that brain injury. The puzzle pieces connect for us. When an individual experiences mood swings or explosive anger directly due to a brain injury, the acceptance begins to waver. When symptoms manifest into altered behaviors, inappropriate emotions, unstable moods, poor decision-making,
the acceptance and understanding plummets, as it becomes difficult to grasp why the individual cannot just stop or change this. Though the same approach would likely not be applied or verbalized to someone trying to relearn to walk or to speak. Mental illness and addiction are deeply rooted in the brain and the brain's functions. This is not in question, though unfortunately how it manifests is still socially unacceptable because it is displayed in behaviors and decisions. There will likely be a lot of tears today because of why we are here. This is the brain telling us something sad has happened, and crying is how we respond to show sadness. I am sure we will all laugh at some stuff too, because Brandon had some great stories. And with his funky and lively character, we will all cherish that. We do this because it is a fond memory stored in our brain. In a generation where society is screaming for everyone to listen to science, I think this needs to be applied here. The science is there, the acceptance is not. Brandon and I will forever miss running up and down Dorothy's shaky staircase into her timelessly epic red and black swanky shack downstairs, watching movies, rolling down her grassy hill, and our favorite was going into her special book collection. I don't know if anyone knows what kind of book she had. We're so proud of her. Man, I'm so honored to have you in my family, and I hope there is peace for you now.
My name's Morgan. I'm the youngest cousin on Carrie's side. And those are my two sisters, so I don't know if I'll live up to their speech, but growing up we would come here every summer, as you guys figured out, and we would spend like a week here, just hang out, and my fondest memories are also at Dorothy and Ellis's house. We would sneak downstairs, do the dirty books, and we'd wander around and just find all of the hidden treasures were in that house. We always had good food and just always a really, really good time. He was just too cool. Brandon was too cool for us, and we were never really sure why he hung out with us. It was probably forced. But we realize now that it's not. But we all bonded there. The rest of the time we would wander around hiking with the family, and then barbecues at Carrie and Craig's house. In the end, my favorite part of the Utah trips were the laughing and the realness of this family. Mental illness was a part of the conversation, but always in an accepting way that is just part of life. We have to embrace it and make the most of it. Unfortunately, as we got older, the trips slowed down, and I didn't get to see Brandon very often. It was always so hard to hear his struggles and just feel helpless. I think everyone tried their hardest. There was never a lack of love or support. I just can't believe we're all here and that we have to deal with this, but we have to say goodbye. I think for his family and trying to find a way to keep moving. So I'm thankful to be a part of this family.
I want to read a poem that Brandon posted on his Facebook several years ago. Death is nothing at all. I only slipped away into the next room. I am I, you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way you always used. Put no difference into your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laugh at the little jokes we always enjoyed. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever household world, the way it always was. Let it be spoken without effort, without the ghost of a shadow. Life means all it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is absolute continuity. What is death but a negligible accident? I am waiting for you for the interval somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well. Nothing is past. Nothing is lost. one brief moment, and all will be as it was before. How we shall laugh and at the trouble of parting when we meet again. And I want to say a little of my personal thoughts, if I can get through it. Dealing with an addicted loved one is extremely trying. There's a vast amount of gray area between love and tough love and enabling, and there are no two circumstances alike. The thing that is tough for me, and I feel has a much smaller gray area, is the expression of love. That meaning, showing love to him in spite of his actions. I know I should have done better, and it is extremely hurtful. There's a saying, coulda, shoulda, woulda. I believe everyone goes through that scenario when dealt with tough times. I could have been more forthright in my expression of love to him. I should have been more forthright in my expression of love in spite of the addiction. The woulda part, I will never know as long as I live. Would he be here today if I'd only done a better job with the coulda and the woulda? Or shoulda? As some of you know, I'm not a religious person. I believe that to be a personal choice for me, as it is a personal choice, being at one with whatever deity you feel is good for you. If the golden rule is embedded into your beliefs, you're on the right path. I honestly don't know if I'll ever see him again, just like I don't know if I'll die tomorrow or in 30 years. But what I do know is seeing Brandon again when I pass is a pleasant thought. It will make whatever days I have left happier. In closing, I want to say, until we meet again, son, I love you.
Yeah, when I overviewed the program today, I forgot to mention Matt Lewis, a friend of Jessica's, and he did a wonderful performance today, and I'd like to acknowledge that. What we're going to do next is have a moment of reflection. Maybe some of your best memories of Brandon will come to you. And then after our moment of silence, we'll have anyone who would like come up to the podium. And as I mentioned earlier, it's better to come to the podium because you'll be heard much better, and also this is on a Zoom link as well. So let's just have a few moments of silence in Brandon's name. If anyone would like to come up and express a memory or thought about Brandon, do so now. Thank you.
My name is Reno Mendenhall, and I was fortunate enough to be Brandon's really good friend growing up. I didn't think I'd do this. I think as I was listening to everybody's stories, I was able to write a couple things down on my phone, and a couple things that will live on with me. from Brandon are his truck, his kicks, as he would call them, and his laugh. Brandon had arguably the best laugh I've probably ever heard, and I would try to imitate it, but I would definitely not do it justice. It was contagious. Story that came to my mind, you talked about when we moved the car. I don't even remember that. That's how bad that was. But I do remember one time when we were hanging out, and I had a Cadillac in high school that was 200 feet long, at least. And we were driving around doing nothing. And I don't know if it was his idea or someone's idea I think we removed a part of this girl's fence in the backyard, and we drove my Cadillac in her backyard. And as we were doing that, Kevin Woods slammed the door and he's like, let's go, let's go. And Brandon's finger got slammed in the car door, so Brandon was running along with the car for about 10 yards. And then Brandon hopped in and we did donuts in this girl's backyard and broke like every sprinkler she had, I guess. But Brandon he was always just there, and he always wanted to be there for us, and that's one thing that I'll remember. We played baseball together growing up Brandon was in every one of my childhood memories till I was about 19. And so I'm very unfortunate that I wasn't able to see him as much as I would have liked to after that, but the Brandon I remember was extremely happy. He was extremely kind, and it was never about Brandon. We would sit and play baseball for hours after school, and as I was sitting back there listening to this, I don't even know if Brandon liked baseball, but he knew I liked baseball. And so he would be there for me and do that because I think he knew that I liked it, and he just wanted to be with his friends. That's how Brandon was. And he knew what was important, as you guys said, he knew what was important. He knew, and one thing that I learned from Brandon I'll take away is he knew what was important. He loved his family. I will be more present because of what Brandon taught me. And he was a great example to me just to slow down. And he was never about himself, he was always about other people. And Avery, I never met you, you're a beautiful young woman, and Brandon would talk about you all the time. And Craig and Carrie, you guys were great. I know what it's like to deal with addiction in the family. And you guys did a phenomenal job with Brandon. Like everything Brandon was, it was because of you. So I think that you guys did a great job. And the older you get, the more you realize how good of parents your friends had or how bad of parents your friends had. And you guys were definitely great parents. So I appreciate that, and I'm just grateful to be able to know Brandon and what you guys did for us and be able to let Brandon be a part of our lives.
Hello everyone, my name is Brett Harrison. I shared this with Craig, Carrie, and Avery previously, but I felt it appropriate to share with the rest of the family and those that are here to honor him today. I was fortunate enough to meet Brandon when I first started on my own path to recovery. I was extremely terrified, uncomfortable in my own skin, and all I wanted to do was belong. And Brandon gave me that immediately. He showed me the kindness, compassion, and love that I couldn't give myself, and gave me the friendship that I so desperately desired. I can honestly say I would not be standing here today if it weren't for him, because I don't know that I would have stayed around. And he took me underneath his wing and allowed me to kind of attach myself to his hip. One of the favorite memories that I have, and me and another friend were just kind of discussing it before this started, we were on a 3-day getaway, what they called the God Camp out in recovery, where a bunch of alcoholics and addicts get together, go out in the wilderness, and camp out for 3 days and celebrate our time in recovery. Brandon was staying in my tent with me. I was a little bit impulsive at that time still, and I thought it would be funny if I dug a big 3x5 trench in front of our tent and covered it to kind of booby trap. Needless to say, Brandon is much, much more intelligent than I am, and I fell in my own trap. The next day, as we're getting ready to leave, and this is when Brandon was working in that dry foods cannery, so he had like all these huge containers of this dry food. We had this individual that we tortured relentlessly. He had many, many years in recovery, so he could take it from all of us newbies. And I don't know if you know what antiquing is, but we found out that the bathroom wouldn't lock, and so me and Brandon came up with the bright idea that I would take a great big thing of cold, fresh spring water and hit this individual, and then he would hit him with the whole can of dried food. And that was Brandon. He was always bringing smiles, laughter, and light everywhere that he went. And I know that I'm not alone when I say that his impact on individuals like myself has given us a second chance. And there are many, many of us out there like that. And I'll forever, forever be grateful to him and his family for that reason. Thank you.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but I'll try. My name's Kevin Maurer. Thinking of old stories, when Brandon was going to Utah State, I'd go up there all the time. We'd go on little drives, we'd go to Bear Lake, we'd just do random stuff, and I was always jealous of that Toyota. I think that's why I went and spent $25,000 when I was 18 years old on a brand new truck. But we always talked about starting our own shop, custom shop, and building trucks. And that never happened, but I was lucky enough to start a company with my brother, and Brandon's worked for us since day one almost. It wasn't always easy for us or for him. We're a new company and stress, and sometimes we butted heads, but he had his hands on everything that we've created, and he was a huge part of it. I was really worried about him going, just because I've had that same procedure, and but it's hard. I don't know what it was and why I called him to come and get that truck right before he left. But I was storing it for him for the last few years. He was so mad at me. So mad. You told me it didn't matter. And I said, yeah, well, it's out of my hands. I need you to come and get it, because they were burning at the farm. I'm really grateful for all the years I have with Brandon. So more amazing someone, and taking friends and digging holes. I'm sad. But I'm pretty sure you're going to see him again.
I hate speaking in front of people, but I'm doing it for Brandon. I'm Carly, one of his cousins, and like everyone said, he's like the cool, hot cousin, always. And so every summer we would come up here, my sister and brother, I always wanted to hang out with Brandon because he was cool. And one summer, we were doing an errand for Grandma in Grandpa Garth's truck, like his old Chevy, I think. And it had, or we were driving, and it was when it had 2 tanks in it. And we're driving, and he keeps switching it back and forth. And he's like, I think we're running out of gas. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, Grandma, don't worry more. And I was like, what are we gonna do? You know, freaking out. And then finally he starts laughing, and he just loved, you know, make people laugh and tease people. So that's one of the stories I had. And then this second one, about like 6 years ago, I want to take my son up to see Santa Claus in Salt Lake. And I had to ride tracks, and I didn't want to ride it by myself because my husband was working, so I'd ask Brandon because he's always wants to help. He's like, sure, and this is when he lived with Grandma, and he like made sure I had coffee and just like really, like his little sister, he said sometimes, like just wanted to make sure I was okay. We rode up to tracks, and he was always there. He like helped me with my kids, and they love Uncle Brandon. And then I think back in March, or February, I was at my husband's work, and Brandon had came down to get his truck serviced or something, and I saw him, and I was so happy because I wanted to hang out with Brandon, but he really was self-conscious with his teeth. But I was so happy to see him, and we pulled over and talked for like 30 minutes. And I was like, please hang out with us when you get your teeth done, like, we miss you. And I was sitting in my driver's seat, he was sitting in my passenger, and I just had the urge to get out and give him a hug. It was really great, I did. And he's just gonna be missed. He's an awesome person, and we love him.
I'm Troy Gokritz, one of, we always used to call him Huggard all the time. It was never branded to us, it was always Huggies or Huggard or whatever. And recently a picture had surfaced, and I hadn't thought about this a moment forever, but apparently our friends had gotten in so much trouble that all of our parents had to come to a dinner of all the parents, and we had to have a big rendezvous on basically like rounding us up, you know, and making sure that we were all kind of somewhat on the right path. And the funny part of the dinner was that we had to sit by somebody else's parents. Like, we couldn't sit by our own parents. And Huggard sat by my parents, and there's a picture of my dad, who passed away last year, or a couple years ago now, and my mom and Huggard, just no one else in the picture, like not me, it was just those three. And so last night I showed that picture to my mom, and I told her about Brandon, and she remembered that dinner and how amazingly helpful and well-mannered Brandon was in that dinner. And my parents didn't spend a lot of time around our friends, but she remembered Brandon in that moment and remembered how wonderfully helpful he was. And the other thing for me that I remember about Brandon was he was such an amazing friend. Like, he was such a great, if we were gonna do something, you know, we were always jockeying for girls amongst our friend group, and he'd always be like, hey man, that's just not a good friend thing to do, or hey, that's not what a good friend does. And there's one more memory. We were, I'm sure this led up to the dinner, but we were hazing back and forth with this group of girls quite bad. And one night we were about to release these mice into one of these girls' cars. And I remember Huggard blew the whole gig by turning on her car alarm. Like he went to open and it just like, the alarm went, and he screamed and just hucked the mice, like, and just ran. And it basically just kind of like botched the whole thing. Probably kept us out of a lot of trouble, but I do remember he was really fun to be around that way. His laugh was definitely one that you loved and remembered. So a couple of great memories. Love him.
I asked my sweet granddaughter Jessica to say a few words for me because I didn't know if I could get up here, but I have to get up. Brandon was very, very special. He spent a lot of time with me. And I have to tell you about one little episode with the posse. There was 9 groups of boys. Brandon's grandpa and I went over to Maggleby's one night with some friends. And lo and behold, here comes this big, long group of beautiful, beautiful boys and girls dressed in their tuxedos and their formals. And I thought, oh, probably Grandma Grandpa's the last person that Brandon wants to see here. But no, he went out of his way. He came over, gave me a big hug, and introduced me to his sweet little prom date. And we had a little visit. I have so many wonderful memories of Brandon. Jessica told of the one where he hugged me so tight. And Carrie had taken him to the sitter and he was so unhappy and cried and cried. And I went down to rescue him. And rescue him I did. He took him home and we had a great time. I love this little boy and I'm going to miss him so much. I was probably the last one to talk to him. I talked to him on Monday about 11 o'clock. He said, Grandma, I don't remember what he called it, but it's the temporary teeth that they put in, and he was so happy. And we talked a few minutes, and he says, my flight gets in Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. I'm just looking forward to seeing you. And it's been such a shock. But he was loved by so many, had so many good friends, and the family just loved him. And I'll love him and miss him forever. I'll probably soon be with him. I'm getting old and tired. But thank you.
I feel like I had to say something after I see some of my buddies come up and started telling some stories, and all these memories come flooding back of some of the fondest memories and times of our lives that we had together with that group. It's kind of fun to hear the grandma say the posse. Haven't heard that in a really long time. But all those memories that were told, I was at each one of those. I can remember the car being moved. I got suspended for that. I think he got in big trouble too. And Troy's story, Reno's story, all of them had, I have so many fond memories of it, but I was telling Carrie when I got here that one of the memories for me that's just been embedded, and I've actually told this story several times, because Brandon was the nicest one of all of our friends. Like, and it wasn't even close. Like, we were talking about, like, people, Troy was talking about, like, kind of jockeying for girls and, moving around, and, he was always very cognizant of his friendships, very loyal to his friends, and cared about people. And he demonstrated it all the time. In the way that he interacted with you, he always knew that he cared about you. And it was different. All of us we're all still buddies. We all tease each other a ton, but he always wanted to make sure that you knew that he cared. And I remember one night, and my mom's here actually, so I'm going to tell a story that I'm probably going to get in trouble for from years ago. But me and my now wife hung out in high school with that same group, and we had snuck out, and we had gone out in the hills digging in her Ford Explorer. It was not near the outdoor vehicle that Brandon had. And it was sometime during the night that I realized, it was probably like 1 or 2 o'clock, that I was stuck and I couldn't get out. And we were trying to get the car out, and I was out moving it, and my wife's trying to drive, she's trying, at the time, girlfriend, just trying to get the car moving, and we're moving it, and for hours, I'm stuck in this area, and it's getting like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, thinking I am screwed. I'm going to have to call her dad, I'm going to have to talk, and we didn't have cell phones at the time, so I didn't even know what to do. We walked down the street, and a police officer was just passing, and I waved him down, so I was desperate. I'm like, hey, I'm stuck, and he goes, well, I don't know what to do. I was like, well, that's not helpful. And he said, you can use my phone, and who you're going to call? I was not going to call my dad. I was not going to call my dad. It was like the only person I could think of was Brandon. Because I knew he would drop it. At a drop of a hat, he would come and help me. And I remember calling, and Carrie answered, and Carrie was like, what are you doing? So I need to talk to Brandon, I'm desperate. And she said, I'll get him. And he came to the phone, groggy, Jed, what are you doing? I need help. I go, I'm up in the, I explained this spot. He knew every spot in that mountain, on the low hills there in Alpine. He was there literally, it felt like in minutes. Jumped in the car, and he had us out in, I felt like really inept as a man, by the way. He got me out so fast. I was like, my current wife was like, oh, I could have done that too if I had that vehicle, but absolutely could not have. But he had us out, and my wife we always had a special spot for Brandon, because it was one of those things, you always hear those stories of the friend that'll drop and do anything at any time, will answer the phone, will come and get you, and that was Brandon. He was always that guy. So love him, and love the relationships that he helped bond for us at a young age. So, and I'm Jet back, by the way, part of that group that was from before. So.
A lot of my memories are from our youth. Because we moved away when I was pretty young. And I remember when I'd come back to visit though, I was like Carrie's daughter sometimes. Before Avery, this was long before Avery. And Brandon once, I remember, took me to the sticky shoe. With one of his friends, I think his name was Zeke, and we watched like Beethoven or something like that. And there were always just so many fun times with the family. I always loved coming to visit and spending time with you guys and building a lot of fun memories. And I know you guys didn't know a lot of when Brandon had his excursion out in Vegas, and so when he was out there, I remember taking him out with all of my spa girlfriends. And he was always just the life of the party. I remember going to, you know, a dance club, and he would do his like boogie nights dance moves. And all the girls were just wanting to go and have a dance with Brandon. And I remember shortly after he had come to try to start anew there, he brought Gage along. And I can just attest to his love of animals. Even when he was in Vegas, he had Gage go along with him everywhere he went. And there was always room for family. And there's been so much talk of mental health and addiction, and my heart just breaks for you guys. And I just want to let you guys know that we are all here for you if you need anything.
First off, I want to apologize for having to listen to another posse member out there. But I just have so many wonderful memories of Brandon that I had to just share a couple of them with you. My earliest memory of Brandon is when I was about 13. He was really good at computers at that time, and programming and stuff. And we played this game called StarCraft, and he came over to my house and he loaded it on my computer, and we would play online. This is internet back in 1997, you know, it's dial-up, and I have so many beautiful memories of him on Tig's tennis court, skateboarding. This truck going up to Hemagog. You couldn't go up to Hemagog without going through Brandon. He owned that mountain, and he knew every trail on it. I would take my little Kawasaki motorbike at the time, and I would meet him up there. And we'd sit and talk for hours and about everything. After high school, we kind of went our separate ways for a while. Then I moved down to Vegas in 2003. I was just trying to build my life at that time, and he was going through such struggles. He would come to me, I was working at R.C. Willey down there, and there's almost a darkness that he carried with him, or some kind of shadow that I didn't know how to help him with at the time. We would go out for drinks and talk and reminisce about old times. My last memory of him was not too long ago. We were driving opposite ways, and we'd always text each other just about random things. And lately, he'd only reach out to me kind of when he was at his lowest. And so we met at a Maverick with this big white dually truck that he was driving around. And we just sat and we turned on Jay-Z at the time. I used to listen to that back in the time. And we talked about, he was my one friend that I could talk about some of our other friends that passed away. Because we shared some really core memories of that. And I'm going to miss that. Because he was right there through every memory that I had with him. Just wanted to express how much love I have for him. You could look into those blue eyes and it would be like you're in the Caribbean. You know? And a smile and a laugh that would rival anybody, make you laugh by just hearing it. I just want to express how I love this man, and I will always cherish the memory that I have with him. Thank you.
I thought I'd take a turn because I'm a girl cousin, so we'll go like posse, girl cousin, posse, girl cousin. I have separated myself from the family, as everybody probably well knows. I don't spend a lot of time with everybody because of everything that's gone on. And like, my kids have never even met anybody in the family, that's why they're not here with me today. And I have a lot of regret about that. Because they missed out on knowing Brandon. And Brandon was a good guy. And I recently decided to come back to the family at Christmas time. And I really wish that I had more time to get that back, because I would want my kids to know everything. And the thing that I remember the most is when we were little kids, Grandma would buy us carnival tickets every summer, like tons of them. I know you guys all know we had carnival tickets, and we would spend every summer at Grandma's. She saved us from babysitters all the time. I think Grandma saved us from every single babysitter we had. If we just cried enough, Grandma would come get us. I know Jessica knows. But I'm grateful for that time when we were little kids, and I'm grateful for Grandma for saving us from babysitters and making sure that we were all together. Because when we were little kids, it was really a lot of fun at Grandma's house. And Brandon introduced me, he got me my first tape. I think it was like Rump Shaker. And I was really excited about the tape, and we would be at Grandma's house hanging out and listening, and I just miss that. I wish that we could go back to when we were little kids and we had so much fun together, because our lives and our family has changed so much over the years that that's the memory that I want to keep, is when we were little and we were having fun together. And I'm going to miss Brandon a lot.
So I'm not part of the posse. I was friends with Brandon a little bit later on, but still in high school. My name's Carl Sundstrom, and I know how much Brandon loved his mother and father, and how much he loved the Toyota. And you know, there's not a trail that I'll see that Brandon and I haven't been down or been up. So much so, we combed and made our own trails all over the place, and he's got his very own an alpine that lots of us in here know is called Huggard's Hill. One of the reasons is he had the only vehicle that could make it up there, you know, but my car couldn't do it. And you know, the memories I have of Brandon are just amazing. And I remember when he had his job at I Am Flash Technologies, and we would always try to, hey, just stay out a little later, come do this with us. And he was just so steadfast and dedicated, and he knew that he had to get home so he could get his rest, because I think he worked 3 or 4 12-hour days, you know, in a row, and then he had time off. And so when he had his time off, you know, he would be out a little bit more with us. But I just always admired that about him. and how good he was at putting his job first, and how much he loved his family and all of his friends that are here. And he'll truly be missed, but I firmly believe that I'll definitely see him again, and I'll still drive by every one of these trails, and my heart will be heavy with knowing Brandon and I have gone up there before, and some of our other friends, like was mentioned, that have passed away. Yeah, those are just fond memories that I'll always take with me, so thank you.
Before I close, if there's anyone that would like to come up to the podium and express their memories of Brandon, please do that now. I'll wait maybe a few moments before I actually close. May the strength of our breath sweep us clean of all that is trivial, making space for greater compassion and love. May this space also become a home for our lost loved one, Brandon Lynn Huggard. May we continue to say his name until it becomes a household word without the ghost of a shadow. And may Brandon rest now in the peace and ease that calls to all of us.
My name's Jeremy. My memories with Brandon kind of started a little later, since it's super close. And I was from Highland, so not the Alpine dudes either. I got to goof around. But that was the cool thing about all those guys is we all had fun together in high school, and they all kind of made it a point. But Brandon, he was out there to just have fun with everybody and make sure that everyone was taken care of. One of the things that sparked me to get up, I wasn't even going to, and then there were some more things being said about going off-roading. We planned a little trip. It was with Tig Peterson, one of the gang leaders, I think, and then you had Brandon, and then there was me and a couple of our goofball friends. It was Spencer Morris, just some people that, they're not even around, but we had this little plan to do a scout camp trip. That's what we told our parents. Probably no one, I don't even think we got caught, but we had a pretty rager party at this cave that he had stashed up American Fork Canyon. I don't know how to get to it. You have to park on the side of one road, then you have to hike down another couple 100 yards, and you have to hike up 100 yards, and it's like steep. And it was a really good time, and it was just one of the times I remember Brandon. I mean, he was there for everyone. He really got us down that canyon that morning. Spencer did get caught, that was right. Spencer got caught, but we had to rush down and get Spencer home. Some of the things that me and Brandon experienced, a lot of the dark stuff together, some of the addiction stuff. The last little hoorah for me was back in 2015, October 3rd, 2015. But about 2.5, 3 months prior to that, me and Brandon were going hardcore, and it was not a good thing. But we kind of got caught up, and I kind of coerced Brandon to go to a rehab, and it kind of got me pushed into another rehab too. But I think that was back in 2000. When did he go to Willow Tree? 15, 14. 15, 14 is about when that all happened, and it was. I think he went and did. I think he kind of got out of there and went and started working with Kevin and went that route. But a lot of our memories were a lot of fun memories, having a good time, and him always there to take care of someone and make sure that everyone else was okay that during the trips that we were out. He lived with me for about off and on for 2 or 3 years. Gage was actually, I think Gage actually adopted Brandon. Brandon didn't adopt Gage from me. Gage decided who he was going to go home with when that was all said and done. I had 3 other dogs, and Gage was his companion, and it was a good thing back then. It was a really good thing. But he is the dog whisperer. He saved Paraceller. We were at Silver Lake. There's another Silver Lake thing. I had about 15 dogs come down from North California. We were doing a dog show up in Bountiful. It was with Gage, and I mean, they're all like 80, 90 pound dogs. They look like they'd take it down on anybody. This Paraceller comes cruising in from nowhere. All of our dogs, we had 9 of them, and 90 pound dogs, and Brandon was the only one coming down, but when the guy did land, all 3 of them were just there licking their face. They're just nice dogs, but Brandon was there to make sure nothing was going to happen. But Brandon was a good dude. Brandon has memories with everybody in every different spectrum of friendships. Like, we have everybody from his youth age, high school, junior high, and he's impacted all of us like in a different way that no one really can. And Brandon got that from his parents. His parents are rad people, and his friends, everybody contributed to the person that Brandon became. And it's unfortunate, and Brandon he's going to be very missed on my end. I mean, the last 3 years have been short. They've been sweet and special at my dealership. He'd come in and with Kevin to drop off trucks and stuff. So I haven't been too involved with Brandon in the last 3 years, but just seeing him always put a smile on your face. You always get lost just hanging out or talking to Brandon. So those are going to be missed days, and I'm grateful that we were able to be here to see this and be here and contribute to this. And thanks. Love you guys.
I want to thank everyone for coming. If there are no other people who want to talk, I think we'll close this. So I just want to thank everyone for coming, and love you all.